All right, in the past two lessons, we started exploring our date range method, which is available directly on our Pandas library. In the first lesson, we used the start and end parameters to specify our start and end points to generate a range of dates. In the previous lesson, we utilized the start and periods parameters to specify a starting point or position and then generate a certain number of date values from that point moving forward. And in this final lesson on the date range method, I'm going to introduce two other parameters that we can utilize in combination, which are the end parameters and the periods parameters. So let's go ahead and call our date range method directly on our Pandas library. Let's open those parentheses and press Shift-Tab to take a look at our options. So that first parameter is start, and we're going to be skipping it at this time and starting with end. So end, as we know by now, expects an endpoint. Let's give it something, let's do the end of 1999. So I'm going to do 1999, December 31. Now I'm also going to specify an argument for my periods parameter, which is going to represent how many date times are going to be stored, or rather how many timestamps are going to result in the object that Pandas is going to generate. Let's say I want 20. And we also have that critical frequency parameter, which is set to D by default. I'm going to write it out explicitly just so that we have a reminder. And of course, frequency designates the interval or time between each one of our points within that datetime index. So let's take a look at what happens. It should be pretty intuitive. It's basically going to do the opposite of what we did in the last lesson. So now it's going to start at the endpoint, which we can see is represented here as the last value in my datetime index, December 31st. And it's going to move back one day at a time. That's because we specified one day as our frequency, until it has 20 total values, and it's going to end at December 12th, 1999. Similarly, if I change this to something like 40, it's going to repeat the exact same process and take us back in time 40 days from December 31st, 1999. Similarly, we can provide the exact same alterations to the argument that we give to frequency. So if instead of days I wanted business days only, which skip weekends, I can enter B here. And of course, since Saturdays and Sundays are not going to be valid anymore, this is going to extend a little bit further backwards in order to accommodate those 40 periods. So now we're going to move from November 22nd to November 8th. We can still see that our last day is 12/31, so it worked. And of course, the other key takeaway here is because our end date, which is December 31st, is included in this result, that tells us that the 31st of December is in fact a weekday, because if it fell on a weekend, it would not be included in this final result set. So let's try another example. Let's say we want to see all of the Sundays here. I'm going to change this frequency to W-Sun. This is the default if we were to just enter W by itself. This is going to generate a time index, a date time index of 40 dates, and all of them are going to fall on a Sunday. Now, we're going to end here on December 26th, and what that immediately tells us is that the 31st of December 1999 does not fall on a Sunday, so it can't be included, and whatever Sunday occurs after must be after December 31st, so that's why it can't include it, otherwise it would break our logic criteria. So basically it's going to give me 40 Sundays that fall before December 31st, 1999 in this example. If I wanted to include this as, let's say, my endpoint, I just have to calculate what day of the week it is. Since I know that the 26th here is a Sunday, I know that the 27th is a Monday, the 28th a Tuesday, 29th is Wednesday, 30th is a Thursday, and now I know that the 31st of December in 1999 fell on a Friday. So if I now do W Friday, I know that it will be included because now we can fit in 40 periods of 1 week, each one being a Friday, and now we can include that last endpoint because it's valid now. Our weeks all start, all our weeks here represent Friday start dates, and we have a valid Friday value for the 31st of December 1999. All of the additional available options for frequencies are still here. So for example, if I wanted to do M, which represents month end, we could have 40 month ends ending at December 31st. In this case, again, the 31st of December is a valid month end, so it will be included. So here we have it represented, and then we're moving back until we have 40 month ends up until we end at the September 30th, 1996. If we wanted month starts, we could replace this with MS. Let's also do something random here. Let's do something like 53 periods now. Now, because December 31st does not represent a month start, it can no longer be included. So the very first thing that's going to be here is December 1st, 1999, which represents the first month start that occurs before our endpoint, which is December 31st. So now you can see we're going to end on December 1st, 1999, then proceed backwards in increments of 1 month, or basically month starts, until we get to August 1st, 1995. And all of the additional things apply. You don't have to do just a single thing like D or B or MS. You can put an argument in front of it to specify. For example, if I wanted to start at this point and I want to move back, let's say 100 periods or 100 total values, but I wanted to isolate them each by something like 7 hours, I could put in 7H. And we can see here that we're going to start on midnight on December 31st, which is our end value, and we're going to move back in increments of 7 hours. We're going to do that however many times we specified, which was 100, until we arrive at December 2nd, 1999. So that represents 100 occurrences of 7 hours, or 700 hours up until December 31st, which is our endpoint. So again, plenty of things here that require a little bit of practice and a lot of memory to remember. Certainly a lot of these shortened acronyms like B or WFRI are going to take a little bit of time to commit, but hopefully these 3 lessons have given you a general idea of how the date range method can be used to generate a date-time index of dates. It depends really on what you want to create as a index for your series or data frames. If you know that you want a specific number of values, usually involving the periods in there is a way to go about around it, a way to do it. If you want to kind of proceed from an endpoint and move backwards, you can use end and periods. If you want to start at a specific point and go forward, you can use start and periods. And of course, if you don't care, you just want to specify a start point and an end point and a distance between each value, you can just use start and end and forget periods entirely. So again, of those 3 parameters, you have to provide 2 of them in order for this method to work. Depending on which 2 you specify, the method will return different results. So that's an introduction to the date range method available directly on the Pandas library.